moonlight, stars shine in your eyes. We could sit here till daylight, till your smile lights up the sky. Take my hand and come with me.
The extra special guest today is Murray Porter. He is an Aboriginal musician from the Mohawk Six Nations in Grand River Territory in southern Ontario, but based in Vancouver currently. Hello, Murray.
Hey, how you doing?
Very good. I've seen you perform locally. And how long have you actually been part of the scene here in BC? When did you make your move from Ontario?
I've been here, this will be 7 years.
That
I've, just this month, 7 years exactly that I've been in North Vancouver, actually, where I live. I'm loving the scene here. I'm really very happy to be. I'm a full-time musician. That's all I do for a living, and I've been able to do that for 7 years here in this city, and that's quite a feat.
It really is. It's really amazing that you've done that. How did it shift for you? Like, can you describe how it has been different being here than in Ontario?
Well, for me, I grew up on a Six Nations reservation in southern Ontario, which is about maybe almost an hour from Toronto. So for me to drive into Toronto and park and pay the gas and then drive back home, it wasn't worth any money at all, and being here in the city, I mean, plus I do solo gigs at the fancy hotels with the grand piano. And so when I'm not doing the shows, I do that. So it keeps my chops up, and plus I get to, make some money. It's really cool.
I'm wondering if you could bring us back to those very early days, what it was like there on the reserve. How did the musical influences come to you?
Okay. I can tell you how I got to blues. Well, here's the thing, right? Geographically, where my reserve Six Nations is, it's about an hour from Toronto. It's about 90 minutes from Buffalo, New York, and it's about 2 hours from Detroit, Michigan. So it's inundated with signals, and Chicago is just across the lake. So late at night, when I was supposed to be in bed, like about 13 years old, I had an AM radio. Remember those things?
Yep.
Transistor radio. And I could pick up, late at night, I could pick up sounds from Chicago. And I heard B.B. King sing "The Thrill Is Gone," and I grew up on country music on the res there, and my parents, that's what they were into. And this was my first time hearing blues, and I was like, "Wow, what is this music? Cool!" And I listened to it some more, and the guy said, "Did you listen to the blues radio, la la la, Chicago, Illinois?" And so as soon as I heard blues, that was it. So I started looking for records, and I started finding old blues records and started playing them, just like B.B. King stuff. And that's how I got into music. Then I taught myself to play on a whole piano, and there you go.
That really is fascinating, that quirk of fate being geographically located there, because it sounds like there weren't necessarily individuals in your environment that necessarily gave you records.
No, there was nobody to teach me to play the blues, because there was nobody around doing it. And then a few years later, I ran into these fellas, another native bunch of guys from Buffalo, and they were playing blues, and they got me into the band. I could sing. I was just learning the piano, but I could sing. So they got me in the band, and then they taught me the basics of the blues, and so I was lucky to have mentors like that in my early years.
Do you find it's challenging for younger Aboriginal people to get into the blues? Have you had any experience of teaching younger people, or because there's so many influences now culturally that sort of pull people?
Yeah, well, the thing is, right, from my reservation, we have a gentleman by the name of Robbie Robertson that came out of there, and Derek Miller, also from my reserve, myself, and we had bands. When I grew up, when I was a teenager, there was 3 or 4 different bands playing all around from our reserve, native bands. So I could watch these guys and go, wow, these guys they're having fun making music, and there was those guys to follow. And in a lot of cases, there's not anybody in your community to follow, to have a role model, to have somebody to to you could go listen to and talk to, and not necessarily teach, but have somebody that has accomplished a few things, and it's like, wow, if they could do it, then why can't I do it? And it's sort of a thing that I find that's kind of missing here in the native community here in Vancouver, and so I'm trying to change all that, and just trying to give an example to people, because I won the Juno Award this year, as you know, for Aboriginal Album of the Year. So now they're looking at me like, hey, well, if he can do it, he just lives right there, why can't I do it? Huh? And, so it's an ongoing process, but I hope to someday have a thriving native music scene here in Vancouver as well. I mean, there's a lot of hip-hop guys, and there's a few rock bands, but I'd like to see more.
Yeah, and from my vantage point here, I've interviewed a few artists, and I can see that there is a community there. Red Soul Blues, Rose, I've seen it.
Wonderful singer.
And another woman actually just met in passing, Delana.
Oh, Delana Gail Vaughan.
She sounds like a very fascinating person, and someone I'm eager to interview.
You got to get her on the show, because she went through addiction, she went through all these things. Now she's bounced back, and she's a community advocate and a wonderful singer as well. So it'd be a good idea to get a hold of her someday and get her on your show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And actually, on this note, I must say, reading your bio, and like I saw you play with your band, and your bass player sounds equally as fascinating. Helena Duguay? Helene Duguay?
Yes.
Yeah, sounds like she's quite accomplished herself. Can you tell me a little bit about Helene, how you met her? Or?
She's been here in BC and part of the music scene for many years. Everybody you talk to who's been around this town will know who she is, because she's been everywhere. And in her early career, she was part of a all-girls group back in the '60s. They toured with Dave Clark 5, and she had met the Stones and all these huge artists back in those days. And tragically, there was a car accident on the way to one of their gigs, and two of the ladies died. And she sort of fell out of the business for a while. She was sort of downtrodden, and then she came to BC here, and away she went again. And now she's 69 years old, and she can play that bass, and she can sing a song. And I'm lucky to have her in my band. I really am.
I should recommend, folks, the Yale Hotel is known as Vancouver's home of the blues, and that's where you can see Murray Porter Band play fairly regularly, like monthly, would you say?
Here's the thing right now. The Yale is closed right now for renovation. They're opening back up probably by summer. But they're building a condo around the Yale. But the Yale will return. So I'm doing a thing on December the 12th at the Fairview Pub on Broadway for the battered women support services. So if you bring a toy or a non-perishable good, you get in for $10. And I think it starts at 9 o'clock, so it's a bit of money. And maybe some people have a happier Christmas than they would normally have.
Good things come to those who wait. Everybody knows they're just fairy tales. You're gonna lose if you hesitate. Take my hand and come with me. Take my heart